Indirect response to a couple of videos by the Modern Mystical and Matt. That's Matt made a couple of, he always says things in his videos. I mean, you could take any one sentence and you can make a whole video about that sentence. But he said, the divine creates so spirit could play. That kind of stuff. The divine, whatever that means. I don't know what he means by the divine non-intelligent creator. Yeah, okay. So I don't get it, sorry. And he also makes the argument there's tremendous amounts of bliss and love. There are, life is a little bit of a pain in the neck, but there's tremendous amounts of bliss and love. It's just so Pollyanna, I mean, let's just tie as many pink ribbons around this thing and try to, it's not even gilding the lily, it's gilding the dog do. I mean, let's, sprinkle some glitter on it and it'll be all okay. It won't be a sticky pile of shit anymore because we'll decorate it. It's Christmas. We'll decorate it for Christmas. I mean, it's just, come on. I mean, just not look at life for what it is and to try to make the best of it. That's our obligation. But to sell this fantasy stuff. Anyway, he also talks about how we got to return to the environment. We got to re-embed ourselves into nature. Because life was simpler and easier. And of course, yeah. I mean, look, the whole problem with our society, civilization, the economy, the political system, the economic system, is because it has acquired complexity over time. Life has become really complicated. I mean, life was simpler. There was only like 3 varieties of human being 1,000 years ago. Now there's almost 7 billion varieties because there's so many ways to be diversified now. It's a completely different world. Everybody lived the same kind of crappy life in the past. I mean, you had a station in life and you identified with everybody in that class or in that circumstance, and you were all pretty much the same jerk. I mean, so there's a certain niceness to that. I mean, everybody's the same as you. Everybody has the same information as you. You're all ignorant, whatever. But that's how does that make life richer? I mean, I hate diversity. I hate the fact that there is all this diversity, but I wouldn't trade intelligence for it. I wouldn't trade knowledge for it to get rid of it. I mean, there's no winning going back. There's no possibility of going back. If people back then knew what we know now, they would have pitchfork in hand and would be saying, no, we got to do something. This is all fucked up. Life sucks. Fuck this shit. They'd be able to reflect on their circumstance and figure out it was a fucking mess and a trap and insidious. I mean, if they had to live without hope, without the existence of a god, without a fairy tale story, without something whipping them and some candy to chase, they'd be lost too. I mean, the reason why we're lost is because it's gotten a little bit messed up. I mean, it's kind of discouraging to find out we're, green algae with a few eccentric features, a few add-ons, like some little bug that just collects a bunch of little rocks and builds himself a little shelter. He walks around in and out of the little rocks. Yeah, so we become a little more complicated, a little more sophisticated in how we interact with the world. But that's all it is. It's a little bit of sophistication, not a lot of sophistication. And that's our sad lot, whatever. That's what we're stuck with. And there's, we're not going to win by lying to ourselves. I mean, victory is going to be in completely immersing ourselves in the truth and accepting what we are. And so that sort of gets to the next video. Mystical's video. We just asked a simple question, like, well, why do we give a damn about one person, not give a damn about another when they die or something? And, well, we know what it is. It's all psychology. I mean, that's what we've been talking about, is these programmed responses. And some of them are conditioned. Some of them we can't do much about. I mean, you love your damn parents. You don't love them rationally. You love them irrationally. Even people that are beat up by their parents. Their father's an alcoholic and their mother's a slut, and they'll still find some reason, if it's at all possible, to be attached to these people. And have some contrivance of a fond memory. and because that's our impulse. That's how we've been designed. That's what we're programmed to do that, and then we we reinforce that program through this process of brainwashing, essentially, of conditioning, of controlling our attachments. And so the lizard has some innate motivations to create certain relationships in our life, and those are reinforced through conditioning, and it's hard not to have that happen, but we can. And then beyond that, we have this intelligence thing. So let's just say you sort of through this process of emotionalizing your life, which we all do, you grow an attachment, a fondness, some sort of appreciation for another human being. They make you happy. They please you in some way. They enhance your life, and you become a little bit dependent on them being there, and then you also identify with them because you sympathize, you start to empathize because you see yourself in them, you see bits of yourself in them, and you start to want and worry about them. But that can change in a snap of the fingers, because they call you a yob, and all of a sudden you don't have the same perception anymore. All of a sudden it's like, well, the French government comes with a bulldozer and plows your house into the ground. I'm not as concerned as I would have been yesterday, because today you're a different human being, because I don't have the same connection, the same identification. So we can rationally defeat the conditioning because we can change the perception. We can contextualize it. All right, and that's what the brain is doing. It's doing that on different levels. There's a context at each level, and and I would argue that this last level has the best context, the best perspective. It can apply a lot of thought. It can throw at a situation, and you can rationalize your way into any emotion, just about. I mean, just by the thoughts that you go through, the programming you've established inside your thought process. You can do a lot to change how you're going to react. So you can make yourself less vulnerable. You can make your emotions less superficial and less on the surface official. You can make them a little harder to manipulate, just because you have this reasoning filter that'll change perception. I mean, innately we care more about, like I say, if two things are out in the road, a lizard and a cat, and they get run over, obviously it's somebody, a kitten, people, we're going to be more sympathetic, more empathy, more sad, more concerned with the destruction or the harassment of the cute and the vulnerable, because we have an attachment to the underdog. We have an attachment to the weak, to protect them. We're all parents in a sense. Some part of us, we're very possessive of the things we've decided are our territory of care, are the things we care about, the things we are responsible for, and we can project that circle wider and wider through how we use our capacity to reason. And the inverse is also true. There's things that we'll never get because we have some innate obstacles to getting it, to feeling it, to being fair. I mean, we're not fair by nature. We're not fair by conditioning. And the only thing that makes us fair is this reasoning thing that can manipulate context and make it more possible for us to approach that emotional fairness. But yeah, there's always going to be some irregularities in how we emotionalize and contextualize our attachments to other people, and it's a good thing to be aware of. I mean, I don't think I'm as in some ways, that's the weird thing, as you go through this process of having this watcher, of having this brain that's constantly picking at itself. You gain some invulnerabilities. You become stronger in some ways, and in other ways, it does create a kind of weakness, I think. It does make you more vulnerable, because now you start to see this bigger picture thing, and there's more things to care about. There's more. You realize that you're not the center of the universe, and that all these things that you are personally attached to aren't the whole universe. And it creates some psychological burdens, some philosophical burdens, let's put it that way. And those philosophical burdens over time become psychological burdens. You start to expand the universe of your capacity to care. And that gets back to Matt. Good, I still got some time. because this whole idea that we are one consciousness thing is not, it's not bad in itself. I mean, it's something I've sort of suggested too. I mean, but it's not one consciousness. We are individual consciousnesses. We are all trapped in the same circumstance. We all have a common deficit, a common circumstance, a common context of existence, and it is through that understanding of that that common circumstance that we can identify and become one in terms of our focus, and realize that the birthday cake has to. Everybody deserves birthday cake. Everybody deserves this. Everybody. There's no such thing as the us and them thing, because we're dealing with all these things that are of parallel value. The pain. It doesn't matter which individual is possessing it. Okay, and the same with the pleasure. And so that way we do have a universal life.